Hello everybody, Rob D here, SketchCraft. So we got a little art tip, why I don't use plugins to do flats. One of our followers on the channel, Jonathan, really good guy, Jonathan Rector, good artist, asked a pretty interesting question. Why don't I use plugins like B-Pelt to do automated flats for my work, seeing as how that could save me some time. I'm actually going to show you guys why I don't do that versus tell you. And to help me illustrate this point is our good friend, software development dude, Mike. Say hi, Mike.
Hi.
All right, so Mike, just to give you some B credentials here really quick, you basically do software development, right?
Yeah, software development test, yeah.
QA and all that, right?
Yeah,
So, okay,
it's, yeah, writing code, testing code, it's all the same thing.
And if you've listened to Mike, he's well-spoken. So unlike me, you know, he sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Now, first thing I want to tell you to do is I'm going to be using this one in particular, B-Pelt, PeltMade. They have two plugins, a MultiFill and a Flatten Pro. I know this is written Flatten Pro MultiFill, but first you're supposed to use the MultiFill to create automated flats, and then you use a Flatten Pro filter. I don't know why. We'll figure that out why. I guess to eliminate the black lines. So I guess that's probably how that'll work. We'll figure that out. So one of the first rules is first you get some line art in a new layer. It gets flattened. And then you make sure you don't have any aliasing. Now I'm going to say that's kind of a problem for me because I tend to add a lot of little textures and details which are going to have slightly feathered edges, right? Right, Mike?
Absolutely.
Right. And the reason why back in the day they used to tell you your lines needed to have no anti-aliasing was we didn't have digital printing. We had pre-press printing which involved films and plates and they couldn't do that. But these days it's irrelevant. So if you draw with pencils, you're fucked. Right? Like half your details are going to disappear if you threshold that shit into an anti-alias image. But let's just move on. Let's just see what happens, right? So I got my Battletoads line art here. Now, if I add a threshold filter, which will anti-alias the whole, or will alias the whole piece, you know, I lose a little bit, but whatever, okay? I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Now, we're going to come in here, and I'm going to go to Filter, PeltMade, and MultiFill. Use these basic settings, white is gray pixels, color palette, random colors. That's fine, I don't give a shit what colors they are. Measure by size, we'll click OK. Alrighty, now.
That's really pretty.
Yeah, this is very pretty.
Look at that.
Now, I'm going to explain to you folks why this makes no sense in a minute. But let's just do the next thing. Filter, PeltMade, Flatten Pro, try. I don't know what that just did. What was the difference? Filter, PeltMade, Flatten Pro, try.
Oh no, you can't. Is it gonna actually?
That's interesting. Let's just.
Oh no, it actually created it.
PeltMade, Flatten Pro, try. That did nothing. Filter. See this, folks? We're doing it live. This is amazing. So let's just go back to the multi-fill filter,
We're doing
right?
it live.
And now the problem with this is it's merged with my line art. Now let's just say for the sake of argument that if I had the full version of Flatten Pro, it would merge all these colors. It would take all these lines and fill them with another color. I'm going to assume that's that. Let me just turn off that background layer. Maybe that's what's causing it. Let me try it one more time. Flatten Pro, try it. I don't know what the fuck that just did.
You get nothing, you lose. Good day, sir.
That's interesting. What's the point of that? See here, it looks like it's just eliminating the line arts, right? Like if you look at step 3, it says apply multi-filters, merge with line arts. Apply 4, apply the Flatten Pro filter, and I think it gets rid of the lines. Like it's going to make this a purple. Gosh, I really wish it would work.
You can always give them your email address.
Maybe it worked and it just didn't do it. So anyways, let's just say it did work. I'm going to show you why this doesn't work for me at all, folks. Now, you see, I don't add perfectly clean lines. I like to put little, let me just snapshot this. If you look at my line art, I like to have energy in my lines. I like these little lines that go over things. I like little tick marks in my stuff. I like to have a bit of a sketchy qualityness to my art. And if you look at their example, as with all flatting or vector filled, I liken these filters to a lot of like the auto vector plugins, Mike, for like Illustrator, where you take your line art, drag over, and it automatically vectors, and then it adds a million paths, and it's fucking cumbersome, and it doesn't quite work
Well,
right.
yeah, it has to because it's vectoring.
Right. So here it's got a very nice, clean, bold stencil line. Now look at all these tick marks, little in betweens. I got eyeballs. I got all sorts of stuff. And so when we add the multi-filter, every little one of these things has a flat. Like this would be like if I show this to Brandon, he'd probably have heart palpitations. Like, oh my
Or
god.
a stroke.
And I
One of the
imagine a
two.
lot of these little pits, these little bits might be cleaned up if like this, like if it selected these lines and then somehow miraculously made that pink, some of that stuff would be cleaned up, but not all of it. And furthermore, let's get into like this stuff. First off, I don't need this whole case auto flattened. Like, and I imagine there's probably a tolerance range. Like if we come back here and let me go back and flatten it really quick. And I come back to the multi-fill tool. Let's see, is there a way? Paint. Join areas by, let's just try 50, fuck it. Okay. See what it does? It's a really weird thing. So let's just use the base pit. This just needs to be one piece. This spike is one spike. It doesn't need to be in two separate halves. What it's doing, these filters, is it's taking the empty space in between the lines, making sure that it's an aliased edge, means that there's no blurred pixels. It's a hard edge pixel. And it's just filling it in with a color. And then I imagine the flatting filter tool is then trying to take the line art and apply whatever colors near it next to it. But this makes no sense for me. Could you imagine? I'd have to go in here. Every little stitch line has to be a fucking thing to select.
Oh, go back
Like,
to the zipper. Remember the zipper?
yeah, look at this. Look at this zipper, guys. Look at this. And look, and even in here, it's not right, and there, it's off.
Rainbow zipper.
Yeah, it's off. So, am I right about my assertion though, about the vector thing, Mike? Like, is this basically just what this thing's trying to do, right?
Well, what it's doing, it's taking any pixel, because what it does, it goes, okay, we're gonna alias everything, so we're gonna harden it down, so we don't have any anti-aliasing, and by doing that, we have an on-off pixel situation. So you either have a black pixel or you have a white pixel, and then they go, hey, anything that's a white pixel, just apply a color to it, because it says random when you do it, right? You just picked random, just random color. So it's basically taking any pixel that has a white RGB value, which it's F, right?
Sure.
Six Fs. It's six Fs or six zeros, whatever. It's taking that and it applies a color to it, so that you can map everything, and it just applies random colors. Any pixel that it sees is white, because as far as the program is concerned, it already has its hard edges. Everything's aliased, so it doesn't have to worry about anything. It just goes, I see a white pixel here. Here's yellow. I see another 15 white pixels here. That's green. I see 5,000 white pixels here. That's orange. And it's just assigning to every white pixel. And if you zoom in, you can see that. It doesn't matter. That's all the algorithm is doing.
Yeah.
Any
So
empty pixel that it sees.
the long way around this, folks, is someone can go over here and go, "You're not using it right. Click on this and do that." There is no way to button click your way right through an art career. Like sometimes you can find something that automates. You can make action script. It can help you. You can use shortcut keys. You can get a tool that gives you a little bit more. Like look, all the vents are individually. Look at that shit. Is it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's it.
Yeah.
Because it vectorized everything.
Right. And so there's something that I learned a long time ago from an art instructor of mine. One of the few people at AI that made a lot of sense. His name was Jerry Bryce. He's an animator. He like did stuff on Little Mermaid and like King of the Hill or something like that. And he used to say that they had a saying in Disney. It was like take the long shortcut, which is there's a hard way to do this, and that's the only way. And the more you try to get around it to save yourself time, you're just going to triple your time because you're going to come right back around to to your initial problem, and you're going to have to start back, from the beginning. So these things just don't work, and they mean well. And if your art is very simple, like it's just like stick figure dudes, maybe, and it's super, solid colors, that make a lot of sense. But the only way to make this stuff work is if I drew less stuff or didn't add textures or tick marks, or if they said maybe put all your textures on a separate layer and then put this on here and then do like I'm not gonna do that. Like over here, like all the little hairs aren't gonna work, the little extra lines aren't gonna work. And I found that a lot of these plugins force you to start to create a certain way. So then you start drawing to make the program work better, right? You start altering your art. Like why is this arm? Oh, this arm has a piece there because that line's closed and that line's closed. So there's no way to automate this sort of thing. There just isn't. So it may take Brandon 12 effing hours, to get all the lines done, but they're done right, and they're done with a level of like sometimes, and when you do Flash, you're gonna need this hand as a selection, okay? You're gonna need that whole hand, and then you're gonna need the fingers. That's not gonna be separated if it's a flattened image. I gotta cut each little. I gotta then select every little thing, and make. I gotta go around him, and how am I supposed to cut Billy Lee out as one solid piece if this gets flattened into one piece of multicolored art? Like that doesn't make any kind of sense. And so I'm not clowning Jonathan. It's a logical question because when you see websites like this, you think to yourself, "Oh, this makes a lot of sense." But you know, uh, making a lot of sense and actually being field worthy, are two different things. Now, in software development, Mike, you ever get a guy comes along and goes, "We have this script, that will solve all our problems and it
Mm.
automates everything," and then you come to find out it just wrecks havoc on your entire
Oh,
process.
every day we have people that are just like, hey, we're gonna do this. We got this great idea. We wrote this code. We're gonna put it in. We're like, so we have merging processes where you have to like talk to different people and like get it. It's called a pull request, and then actually the funny thing is we have a guy that will just put code in that breaks stuff, and his name is Shivong. So we call it getting shivved.
Ah, that's fucked up.
That's how bad it is. Because he will just do it. We tell him not to. He's like, hey, I'm gonna merge this code. And we're like, please don't. And he does it anyways, and then it breaks things, and we're like, we just got shivved.
Yeah. So I
So
get it. In art, we want to say time is everything. I get it. But time doesn't mean that you do the least amount that you have to get the job done. Well, it kind of does, but what do I? No, not that's not what it means at all. You find the path of least resistance, and the path of least resistance sometimes is the hard thing to do. I don't make simple art. I can. Even if I made simple art, like it was just this plushie, every little one of these things, like this right here would have a piece, that would have a piece, that would have a piece. All the insides of her hair with little hash tones, those would all have a piece. Her lip now has one, two, three, four little pieces in there. It'd take 10 times longer to clean this up than it
I do
would to
not
just.
like how it looks aliased. It looks
Oh, and
bad.
the artwork looks way different, alias, right? Like
Yeah, it looks
it's all
bad.
janky.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Although I do definitely want you, please save just one of the funny colors because I like the SNES and the NES in the disco colors. Like save a screenshot with it.
like the
'Cause
the
it
cinema art, the craft,
just all of it, man. Like
yeah.
it's an acid trip right here.
What's that? Banana splits. You know what I mean? Like the Marty and Crofty, whatever those guys that did the McDonald's, the hamburger Harold guy and the Grimace. Those guys who came up
Yep.
with all that shit. So there we go. Mike, we have your information below, but for the audience at large, please tell them where they can find you on the internet.
At DeviantArt, bgoodfinger.deviantart.com.
Yeah, and if you guys
Yeah.
go ahead.
No, that's about it right now.
And if you have any other further questions, please feel free to leave them below. I will answer them and make videos to try and explain how I've arrived at this point in my life. So you know what I mean? It's called not wasting as much time as possible. Like holy shit, look at that. That's all right. Mike, you had a question again?
So, you brought up the fact that an upcoming artist could be using this program, and using the program, it could suggest that if they simplified their artwork, they could utilize the program better, and it would make it a lot easier for them. But then that would begin to train them to start making different artwork or adapting their artwork to the
Simplifying their
program,
art down to
simplifying their art down to adapt to the program,
right.
which is terrifying because then, I mean, why would that even happen? Why would you even want that to happen?
Well, because people want to make things go faster. So then what happens is you see this all the time. Like to paint a bunch of characters takes a lot of time. Like it took me, 4, kind of how many hours to get the construction line roughies done? It's 5 parts on the Final Fantasy VII piece just to get the roughy lines set up. So what people would say is that takes too long. Just paint the head of Cloud. You know what I mean? So you can get a million views and move on with life. And so now you have everyone painting heads of Cloud, right? Cloud Stripe's head over and over and
Hmm.
over because they all now everyone looks the same because they're all in the business of trying to get more work done with spending the least amount of time versus
But
taking their ideas and seeing them through. And in this case, you're saying, well, what if they arrived at that idea not because they were just trying to save more time, but because they wanted to use this program to cut out the tedious task of doing flats, which would be even worse
right,
because now the use of a program is now dictating the quality of our art. Case in point, like let's say I use this filter right now. I use the multi-plugin filter to get all these flats, and then I use the Filter Pro thing, which I can't seem to get it to work right now. But the Flatten Pro supposedly takes, like say this color brown here, and then any line next to it, these lines, it'll fill it in with another color. That's what I'm assuming because if you look at the website here, it shows the multi-fill color makes this kaleidoscope flatten thing. And then you apply the Flatten Pro filter, and you can see where the black lines are. It's filled in with green, so forth and so forth. So I imagine that's what it's doing.
yeah.
Now, the problem with that is, right, the other problem you have with that is, even in that state, this character would be a jumblefuck. But more importantly, now let's say I just need to airbrush Billy Lee. I want to airbrush behind him. In order for that to happen, he needs to be he needs to be on his own layer, his flat as a whole. There's a whole character, and then there's things like the arm might need to be like a bigger piece. Like if I know I wanted to get a little more technical, or maybe like the nunchucks I want to be its own piece. They can't. I have to go in there and manually still make all that stuff. So there is no way to just auto flatten an entire piece, unless you start to go down the path of look these examples. And let me finish this sentence. Unless you go down the path of simplifying down to a basic shape. Now, these examples very much remind me of you ever take math in high school?
Yeah, a few times.
And like the example that you do in classroom, you could easily figure out with the teacher and it would make a lot of sense. And then you'd go home and do the rest and you'd be like, fuck, none of this makes any sense. Like, none of this is as logical or as simple. And you go back, maybe I forgot. Like maybe I didn't pay attention. You go back to that original example and no, the original example makes perfect sense. And you come back to the fucking question at large, you're like, none of this makes any sense. You know? None
Same
of
with
this makes any sense whatsoever. More important, you can even see here on his belt, it's hard to zoom in, but on his belt, if you go to the webpage, he's got this little tick mark. His belt gets broken into one, two, three, four, five
I
pieces.
noticed that too.
And here it's still one, two, three, four, five pieces. Well, naturally, what if I just want that belt to be one piece? I have to go in there, select that, select that, select that, and turn that into a coloring flat. That across a whole image is going to turn your life into a nightmare. You're going to spend way more time. You're going to spend way more. I don't need these rivets just become black when I fill them in. They're not supposed to be individually colored. They're the color of whatever the gauntlet's there. Plus, now imagine you're doing toon shading. And in doing toon shade, I take the flats and I put the lines over them, tint the lines and set them to like overlay or hard light or multiply, one of those blending modes, so that the green ends up a darker green and the yellow ends up with, like a darker yellow. Under this formula, what if it turned this finger teal up to here? But then over here it made this inside finger dark blue, not purple. So now this wouldn't even match up with that color. I have to go in and manually paint under every little line to make sure it fits. There wouldn't be like a blend in between. It would definitely lean one way or the other. It's so strange, man. And so I just, as a rule, folks, if something sounds too good to be true, it really is. Okay? You're welcome to use this. I pray to Jeebus and the Lords of Typography that you do not alter your art in any way to make these plugins work properly. I suggest that you either do your own flats or pay someone else to do them for you.
Wait, this is $100.
It's $100 plugin, bro. And
This is
there's
$100.
yeah, you're
Well,
in the
I'm
wrong
surprised
business,
you-
Mike.
Man, if I could make code that just like, hey, sure, this works.
Yeah, just gives 5 easy examples, you
Yeah,
know?
right.
Yeah, and Paula, you can see the belt's one color, the cape's one color.
Yikes.
And it doesn't give you the cape as a whole selection. You still have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, create a whole cape, or even these two pieces to make that. It's such a backwards way of working, you know? And look, the
If
hair
you
isn't
did
even, the
really
hair's
simple stuff, I'm sure this would be fine. If you were like basic shapes, like advertising kind of stuff.
right.
If you're making like a logo, absolutely. Artwork, no way.
Yeah. Awesome.